Hello, process improvers. Today I thought it would be great to jump into our jobs market. Let's take a look at what careers are out there, what jobs are out there, and if it's still a good idea to get into continuous improvement today. If it is, then what types of certifications are employers asking for? This is something I coach a lot of people on, so I thought it would be fun to just go ahead and take a look at the job market and get a bit of an idea of where we're at today. What are the keywords that you're going to be searching when you do your job search? And then how many jobs are out there when we look at those jobs? So, some of the ones that I like the most, I like to use continuous improvement because that's kind of the flavor of process improvement, continuous improvement that I uh, like to describe myself as a guru in. And so, rather than looking for those jobs that are specifically looking maybe for a Six Sigma Master Black Belt, I'd be more keen to go into a role that's looking for continuous improvement. I think that that's going to better reflect my values with the organization. So that's what I'm going to look up. But you may want to try these other terms to see which one's going to be the right one for you. Now, the one that has the most jobs out there, if we look at Indeed, is where we're going to do this research today in the United States market. So if we look at Indeed for today, then we can see that they have about 428,000 jobs under the terms process improvement. Now, when you delve into those jobs, one of the things that you're going to notice is a lot of those jobs are not full-time process improvement roles. A lot of those jobs are going to be ones that do maybe some level of process work, but not necessarily full-time improvement. So when you delve into those, they may be job descriptions where they've listed process management as part of the duties or responsibilities. So it's a bit of convoluted when you use that process improvement term, but you can see there's a ton of jobs out there. The next one that I use, as I mentioned, is continuous improvement. Now, that one has 228,000 jobs. So that still has a really nice mix of jobs. But I will tell you, if you jump into this one as well, you're going to kind of have to fish through quite a few different roles or positions to find one that would be full-time or that would be more focused on continuous improvement. For many roles, we see continuous improvement or process improvement as a complement to other things that you're doing in your normal day-to-day duties. And this is what we can see reflected in a lot of these different job descriptions, is that continuous improvement is just one of the skills that they're asking for. Now, the next term with quite a few jobs out there is operational excellence. That has about 147,000 jobs out there on the market today in the United States. Now, to be fair, I include this one only because there's quite a few different definitions of operational excellence. And sometimes when you delve into those job descriptions, you're going to realize what they're talking about is process improvement tools with maybe a bit of strategy in there. So these are jobs that I would still consider within that continuous improvement umbrella, but it's not always defined that way, or they don't want to call it process improvement. The next one that gets us kind of narrowed down into more of that focus around these full-time roles is quality. So if we look up quality jobs, we have about 66,000 jobs today that are quality focused. Lean, if we put in lean just on its own, we can see that's about 23,000 jobs. And Six Sigma is going to give us the fewest jobs in that search, which is 10,000. Now, the good thing about using Six Sigma is it means that you're probably going to find more of those full-time roles or roles that are very specific in terms of what certification they're looking at. So these are some of the search terms that I would recommend. If you have any that you use, I'd love to see those in the comments so other people can learn from those as well. We love to know what are those keywords that get those best job results for you for continuous improvement. There are some jobs as well that I looked up that I would say are adjacent to continuous improvement. In other words, when we get our certification in continuous improvement, it's common that we might work in these other roles, or we may have some responsibilities in those departments, or maybe we have a certification in that space as well. I think when people are also approaching this, should I get certified or not, one of the questions they're asking is, these similar jobs, should I go after those? So if we look at some of the jobs out there, if we look for change management, which honestly, if you delve into, could be continuous improvement related. We can see that has the biggest number of jobs of all the searches that we did. 792,000 jobs out there are looking for someone in a change management role. Then we have project management, which is a really common question that people have. Should I become a project manager? Should I go into continuous improvement? Which certification is going to give me the biggest benefit? Where you can see here, project management has 63,000 jobs that come up versus continuous improvement that has 228,000 jobs that come up. So if project management is a skill that you want, then it may be something that is a fantastic skill to hone, but there may be more versatility in a continuous improvement certification. Agile is the one that seems to be snaking a lot of jobs from us lately. It seems to be lean adjacent. So people say, oh, it's the same as lean, but it's not quite the same. So that one actually only had 61,000 jobs come up. So if you're thinking about, should I just become a Scrum Master or should I do a continuous improvement certification? Maybe continuous improvement is the way to go. Then we have risk management, which is about 14,000, so even fewer. So hopefully that gives you an idea of if you want to jump into the job market today, what are those jobs that are going to be out there? As much as I don't want to say that I'm money driven, I want to make good money. Right. If I'm going to get a certification in something and I'm going to put work and effort and money towards it, I want to make sure I'm going to get the return on that. So, what we're going to look at next is what are the different pay scales or pay bands that we might see in these roles? If you look up these different jobs, can we see some trends that give us an idea of which jobs are going to be the highest paying, which may indicate to us that that's a better opportunity for us to pursue in the long run if we want to, I don't know, make six figures. I figure a lot of you probably want to make six figures and above. So let's take a look at what that distribution looks like. Now, keep in mind that means that these are also pulling in jobs that have this just as a continuous improvement as a component of their wider jobs. So if you think about supply chain, if you think about logistics, think about management, especially operations management, all of those roles are probably going to have some component of continuous improvement within them. So you may be also seeing, those management level roles or leadership level roles that are coming in to request this type of skill. That might push some of those jobs in that six-figure range up, the number of jobs in that category. But let's just get an idea of what percentage of jobs have what pay band. So if we look at that process improvement, continuous improvement, quality, Lean Six Sigma, we can see all of those jobs have about 30% of the jobs out there in the market are going to be over six figures, are going to be over $100,000 US. So if you look at that and you say, hey, a third of all the jobs in these roles are actually above $100,000, that means maybe with about 10 years experience, you'll be able to get some of those roles if you're interested in that. It also may indicate that there's a lot more roles within that are in that leadership or management space. Now, I will say with Six Sigma, we see here that there's very few jobs under 50,000 for Six Sigma, and actually 50% of the jobs listed are over $100,000. So when we're talking about Six Sigma, we're talking about traditional ASQ level Six Sigma. That means that you have that understanding of statistics, that you can do those types of more advanced statistical analysis like design of experiments and so on. And so you can see with those roles, those are higher because most of those are probably full-time roles where you're doing some of this more in-depth analysis. Now, it's really interesting to look at these numbers, though, against some of these adjacent jobs. And while I included operational excellence as a type of CI, what we can see is about 50% of the roles that list operational excellence in them are under $50,000. So if you really do pursue that operational excellence space, you may find that it's not as competitive to have those higher paying jobs. But let's look at some of those adjacent jobs as well, because this is really interesting. What we see is while change management might have a whole bunch of jobs out there, they also have about 50% of their roles under $50,000 US. So that's pretty interesting to see. That gives us an idea that maybe, if we go into change management, it might take us a while to get to that six-figure space. Also, it looks like only about 20% of the jobs out there are over $100,000. Now, this can be really important as we look at our households and say, what do we want next, right? And what type of career are we building in the long term? What was most interesting to me, I think, of all of these is that Agile didn't have any roles listed when I said $50,000 and under. So I think there were something like 60,000 roles. And then when I changed it to say only roles that are over 50,000, it was still the same number of results. So it's really interesting to see that almost 90% of all the roles in Agile are over $100,000. Now, that's something that I've definitely noticed in the market today. There's also a lot of contract roles in that space. So if you are completely financially motivated and not just looking for which jobs are out there that you're going to be able to get the most, that if you're willing to travel, if you're willing to move or adjust your lifestyle to have some of these higher paying jobs, then Agile might be a good space for you to go into. That's really talking about those business analysts, the Scrum Masters, Agile coaches, and all of those, though, use that continuous improvement or lean methodologies. So it's something to keep in mind. If you do get a lean certification, it's only going to help you with Agile. But Agile is really that machine that's churning it out, whatever it is that it's churning out. So usually those are software development or software changes, right? So they're either developing new software or changing current software. And this is a machine. The Agile machine is something that you can put your organization into, your people into, and then you can go ahead and get that software development or software changes completed. Whereas in Lean, what we're doing is we're fixing the machine. So those tools that we're talking about in Lean, while they were used to create that agile system, you still may need to use the tools to continue to improve and optimize that system. So anyways, it's a place that connects really well together if you end up going into that space. I'm really excited to see this though, because I've had quite a few questions recently about should I go into continuous improvement? And not only do we see a huge number of job listings asking for these skills, but we also see a large or a healthy percentage of those jobs being over $100,000. So I think that that kind of validates for me that going into 2025, while we have a lot of other competition, we have AI, we have all this other stuff changing and going on, this is going to be very important. There is a term I will say that I didn't put in here, which is efficiency. And efficiency, I think, is going to be a hot word next year with Elon Musk taking on the Department of Government Efficiency in the US. If that does continue the way that it looks today in November of 2024, then we may see a greater emphasis on efficiency into the future. Now, that doesn't necessarily, that could be good, that could be bad, depending on the directions that we take efficiency, right? We can use efficiency for good, we can use it for evil. So we can decide or see how it gets used, how it translates for people actually working in the real world. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at the actual jobs that are out there so that you can get an idea in your location. If you were searching for jobs, what are some of the things that you might see? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. Somebody that I spoke to recently wanted to do continuous improvement in Atlanta. If you are in Atlanta or North Carolina or have any contacts there, or South Carolina, and want to connect with some people, shoot me a message. I know that there's some different groups and stuff or different people that want to connect. So if you know of any groups or you want to connect with others, let me know. But let's take a look at Atlanta, since the person that I spoke to recently, that's where they were from, was Atlanta. So I'm going to use continuous improvement because, like I said, that's the term that I like to use. And we can see here just a quick review of the jobs that come up. So we can already see here a corporate communications and external affairs and a fitness coach. So these aren't two that we would generally think of as continuous improvement roles, but obviously somewhere from within this, they're referencing Continuous improvement. So they want the person to have a constant desire to learn how to improve work and translate key business trends, key communication trends into the fast-paced, rapidly growing business, right? And so we can see here they don't necessarily require a continuous improvement certification or degree. They are looking for other things related to this role. And this is something that we're going to see quite often, is that this is something that complements a role that's already active. And I think we'll see similar in things like the fitness coach. But we can see here process excellence manager. That one is going to be obviously quite focused on process improvement with a really wide wage band. Look at that, depending on your level of skill, you could be looking at $100,000 to $200,000 a year. That's pretty impressive. We can also see here one of the supply chain roles, which is around demand planning. So as I mentioned, this is going to be common that we see some of those supply chain initiatives. Let's take a look at some of these jobs that I had pulled up because they were good examples of full-time roles. So here we have a continuous improvement coordinator. We can see here some of the qualifications or expectations around this coordinator job. Now, to me, reading that, just the job position title, that would generally be, to me, in my mind, an entry level or a no experience needed type of role, but we'll see what they actually say. So work with our team and departments on training, workshops, that's pretty common. Assist in the development and implementation of a best-in-class continuous improvement strategy. That's a common thing that we're going to see if you're new to the organization or if you're new to continuous improvement. That's going to be probably where we see some of that come out. Proven experience with Six Sigma. And then they talk about some of the working conditions. So they don't actually require a specific certification, just an expectation or that you have some proven experience with Six Sigma. Now, you can watch my video that talks about documenting your experience, and that's a good way to make sure that you're actually getting some of that experience on your CV, even if you're not full-time. So that's interesting. That one is continuous improvement coordinator, so we can see roles like that come up. Now, this one's saying claims QA specialist workers' compensation. So this one we can see is probably complementing a role that's already in place. And we can see here that they want identification of trends and improvement opportunities with follow-up to ensure implementation of meaningful continuous improvement and or action plans. So here you may not be working full-time with continuous improvement, but you may be working with the team that does it, or you may be executing some of the improvements that have been identified. So this is an interesting one to look at as well, because I know a lot of people talk to me about wanting to get into something entry level. So this looks like a place where maybe if you had some human resources or workers' comp background, then continuous improvement would certainly complement that for you to be able to get maybe a better chance at this role. This one sounds super cool. A consultant for production throughput. So this sounds really, really interesting, this one. And this is going to be using those lean skills more effectively than anything, I think. Let's see here if they specifically say continuous improvement within this. Yeah, so experience driving continuous improvement and motivating individuals to act. So this is the minimum qualifications. Now you have to be able to show that you've done this. Now, it is interesting that they want to see 7 years of relevant business experience or 2 years at an actual restaurant that they own. They would also like you to have a master's degree. So this one would be one where you would really want to highlight some of your previous experience with continuous improvement, but you wouldn't necessarily need a specific type of certification. So you wouldn't necessarily need that ASQ master black belt or green belt to be able to qualify for this role. It might help you, but it might help you as well if you had any continuous improvement certifications or experience on your CV. Here's a CI director. So now we're looking at something that's full-time, and that might be a job that you're either aspiring to, or if you're in continuous improvement, these are the jobs that you're working towards. So develop and lead CI strategy. So we can see here all these terms that we would expect to see. And here's those roles that are adjacent, that change management and risk management that I talked about sometimes end up coming into these roles. So here they want you to have a bachelor's or a master's degree. They would like you to have 7 to 10 years in process improvement and 3 years in a leadership position. And this is the first one where they say, hey, we actually want you to have a Six Sigma Black Belt or similar certification, right? They don't necessarily specifically cite where or who they want that certification through, but they do say that they would like that certification. So if you're looking at a green belt, or a black belt, that might help you to say, hey, maybe this is what I want to work towards. Let's look at the next one. QA QC managers. This is looking more in that quality space. Drive continuous improvement. So you can see here, nothing that we would not expect. But again, all they say is a proven track record of managing quality processes. They don't necessarily say that you need to have a specific certification. Oh, maybe I lied. I didn't read this line. Relevant quality management certification. So this one as well, you could have some of those quality certifications, maybe from ISO, which I believe ASQ also offers. I think I recommend doing this type of an activity, though, for any time you are considering taking a certification or you want to spend money on any of these certifications or degrees. Go into your dream jobs, type in some of those searches for your dream jobs, and then decide based on those jobs that are out there, what are the specific certifications and experience that they're looking for? So don't go out and spend $5,000 on a degree or on a certification and then find out that people aren't even asking for that in your space, right? It's good to actually go to the source. Let's go to Gemba. Let's go to the actual job listings from the actual jobs that you're interested in, and then we can decide if this is going to be the right thing for us. So here we have one more where we can see they want us to have that safety background, so that kind of goes back to risk as well. Cross-functional teams and good communication, continuous learner. But you know, what's interesting in this CI engineer is I don't see anything specific to CI or Lean Six Sigma or quality. So IP standards, maybe, yeah, so there's some standards and expectations around around safety and skills within that role, but nothing specific to continuous improvement. So no requirement to have a CI certification. Now, I'm sure if you had that CI certification, that would help you gain this role, right? That would really help you if you had met the other qualifications here and they mentioned this continuous improvement and you had some certification or background, it would really help for you to be able to secure this role. So that's just a quick look today at some of the roles that are out there. Hopefully you found this helpful. Hopefully this was interesting to you as you take on your 2025 and decide what you're going to do in your career. If you need any support, please reach out to me. Check out some of our training and certification options that we offer or that we recommend. And I'd love to hear more about your journey. Happy improving.